everyone, welcome to another battle report. This one a 4500 point game against my good friend Nat, who's playing on the Ogre Khans. It's been a while since my last report. I've not had many games recently, but I've been working on this list and I'm hoping it will be quite ruthless. So as always, I will flash up the army lists and you can pause and take a closer look, and then we will get straight into deployment. Okay, here we are in deployment then. So we are on map number 1. The secondary objective is the spoils of war. That's the one where you have to get the markers at the start of your turn. And the secondary objective is counter thrust. That's the one where you have to deploy at least 20 inches away from an enemy unit. So let's just talk you through the units then. We've got a Mammoth Hunter over here with a unit of saber-toothed tigers, and a Rock, unit of tribesmen with a shaman, another Rock, unit of trappers, 3 Tusker cavalry with the general who's on a Tusker, and then another unit of 3 Tusker cavalry, and another Mammoth Hunter over here. This is the BSB with a unit of saber-toothed tigers. On my side, a pair of Orc boar chariots, Goblin raiders, unit of feral orcs with a shaman, a unit of common goblins with a witch doctor, a unit of iron orcs, another boar chariot, a forest goblin king on a gargantula, another unit of feral orcs, a scrap wagon, and another unit of forest goblin raiders. So Nat got the choice of who deployed first, and he would drop his army as soon as he was able to, so that he could get the first turn. So we will quickly flash up the vanguards, and then we will get into Nat's movement turn. Okay, so a quick look at vanguards then here. You can see I've brought my raiders up here, and the purpose behind this is to try and tempt Nat into a charge with his Rock. I'm hoping he might run through the ruins. It's unlikely, but you never know. I know that he can't charge me with his saber-toothed tigers because he's got the first turn. And if he hadn't vanguarded them, I'd be far enough away to flee without worry. So bringing those up there, possibly bait him into a charge through the ruins, or at least be able to kind of slip into the ruins myself. Similar sort of thing over here. I know that Nat can't charge me unless he doesn't vanguard, but then I'll have the distance to get away from him, so just moving up there and being a nuisance. And that's the end of vanguards. Okay, Nat's movement 1 here then, and he has immediately charged my raiders with his Tusker cavalry, and I'm showing my rustiness of not having a game for a month here because I've realised now I've got to rally on a discipline 6 and I'm too far away from my BSB. I really needed the raiders to be fleeing this way, so I probably shouldn't have put those there retrospectively, but such is life. And other than that, it's just a sort of a cautious advance, really. And that's Nat's movement 1. And end of turn 1 here then. Nat got Swarm of Insects off in his magic phase, and he killed 3 feral orcs up here, and one of his mammoth hunters killed 1 goblin raider over here. And that was it. So that's the end of Nat's turn 1. Okay, on to my movement turn 1 here then. So the immediate dilemma I've got here is that Nat's got the first turn, and so if I move forwards, he's going to charge me in turn 2. So I've elected to use my war cry, which you can see in the top corner here, and declare 5, sort of 6 charges, some of which succeeded and some of which failed. So I charged here with both boar chariots at this hunter. You can see there was a stand and shoot wound over here. 1 got in, 1 didn't. And then I charged with the iron orcs here into this Rock. They did get in. I charged with both the gargantula and the orc boar chariot at this unit here. The chariot got in, but the gargantula didn't. I would have rather had that the other way around. And I charged with the feral orcs here onto the saber-toothed tigers. I did sort of think about going after this unit of Tusker cavalry here, but I would have needed to roll an 11 on a swift stride because of the war cry, but I decided to go for the Tigers because I felt like it was a more secure bet. And then the scrap wagon, of course, random moving into the side of the Tigers as well. Of note, the Raiders over here did run off the board, which was frustrating, but entirely of my own making. Other than that, Spider Riders, or Raiders as they're now called, moving into the ruins over here. Goblins, Squishy Shaman sitting back, and the Great Green Idol just sort of heading in this direction for support later on. That's the end of my movement 1. Okay, so end of my turn 2 here then. It's been an immediately bloody turn as well. So I did 3 wounds on the Rock over here with the Hand of Heaven. This is such a great spell for a goblin wizard master to have, because you can cast it with a single die. You re-roll a 1 because it's on thaumaturgy. He's a wizard master, so he gets 1. So basically you need a 4+, and you get to re-roll if you roll a 1. So it's such a powerful spell for a single die, and in this occasion it caused 3 wounds. It won't always do that, but it's worth it for a single die. And then I also got Awaken the Beast over here on the Iron Orcs in case Nat decided to double charge over here. 1 wound on the Saber-toothed Tigers from the Raiders over here. Then the Chariot that got into combat with the Mammoth Hunter did the minimum possible number of impact hits and promptly died without doing any damage to the Mammoth Hunter, so that was pretty embarrassing. But then the other Chariot had an absolute field day doing the maximum number of impact hits, causing 5 wounds on the unit, plus a couple of wounds from the actual Chariot's profile itself. 1 combat by, I think it was 2, and then the General's unit actually broke and fled, but didn't manage to catch him. Otherwise that would have been a massive it's already a pretty big overperformance, but it would have been a massive overperformance if the Chariot had caught the General. Anyway, that's the way it ended. And then over here, the Feral Orcs and the Scrap Wagon beat the Tigers and chased them and finished them off. I did try to restrain here, but my rustiness and not playing for a month is showing, and I left this unit out of the range of the BSB. And they're only discipline 7, so it was just over an evens chance of passing the restraint, which I didn't, so they went that way, and of course it now exposed their flank to the Tusker cavalry, but it is what it is. So that was the end of my turn 1. Okay, Nat's movement 2 here then, and you can see he's got 3 charges off. 2 against my Feral Orc unit over here with his Rock and his Saber-toothed Tigers, and then 1 here on the flank of my Feral Orcs. He also attempted the charge here with his Mammoth Hunter, but he failed the charge. And then you can see he's dropped his Trappers in the way of the Iron Orcs just to chaff them up. And I'm really thinking I've played my Goblin Raiders fairly badly here, because rather than harassing Tigers that I'm only going to scratch at the surface of, I should have probably deployed this unit to go after the Trappers and prevent this from happening, because this is going to waste a turn of my Iron Orcs potential damage output, but there's nothing I can do about that now. He's also rallied here with his General, which is, I'm sure he's quite thankful for, and then he's moved his his other Mammoth Hunter kind of coming down to bear here, obviously going after the Gargantula there. And that's the end of Nat's movement 2. Okay, end of Nat's turn 2 here then. And in his turn 2, he got the Children of Umioth on his Saber-toothed Tigers, making them harder to wound. He had rolled really well on Awaken the Beast, and I just had to stop it, because if I hadn't, his Tigers would have each had 3 Strength 5 attacks, which would have been horrific. And that meant that he was able to bring up a Totemic Beast. But he brought it over here against the Chariot, which I think was a mistake, actually. If it had been me, I'd have brought it up over here and started harassing this very weak bunker that has my Wizard Master goblin in it. But anyway, that was where he went. So he then subsequently did a wound to the chariot in the shooting phase. In combat, he absolutely pounded on this unit of feral orcs, but they are of course steadfast with my shaman, who has the crown of autocracy. So they're steadfast on a 9 with a reroll. So it was unlikely that they were going anywhere. But of course, in due course, this is going to get ugly because the rock here is just horrible. He's also beaten me in combat here against the feral orcs, but the feral orcs have held remarkably on a discipline 7. They were steadfast and they did a couple of wounds themselves in combat, but it was 50-50 whether he would smash through there and they would, you know, fail their discipline test, which was always going to be that I would lose, and it was always going to be that I would need a 7. So I feel I've got a little bit fortunate here. 56% chance of success, so just over an evens, but that could have easily gone the wrong way. And that was the end of Nat's turn 2. Okay, on to my movement turn 2 here then. So I've got 3 charges off in my turn 2. The Iron Orcs have charged the trappers over here. The Gargantula has charged the saber-toothed tiger unit on the flank here. And the chariot has charged the recently rallied Tusker cavalry unit here as well. Other than that, leaving the chariot over here as a sort of flank charge bait for this mammoth hunter. I don't want the mammoth hunter going in and supplementing combat here, because I might just survive here. If I can do a couple of wounds on the rock, then he would tip the balance for sure. So I'm trying to kind of bait him into finishing off this chariot, which of course has 2 wounds. And then the scrap wagon has come back on over here. Great Green Idol is heading this way because I don't see there being problems over here. I think that the chariot with its impact hit should finish off the Tusker cavalry. Probably will die to the general, but that's okay. And then the Gargantula should finish off this unit with the feral orcs and then be able to turn around and kill the general. So I reckon the idol is probably more valuable over here. But I do want to get my Goblin Wizard away from the fight over here, so they're heading off that way. And that's the end of my movement too. Okay, on to the end of my turn 2 here then. So in the magic phase, I got Bring the Pain off against the Tigers. And the aim there was really to sort of maximise my damage output and score as many points as possible, which did work out in the end, because you can see here I did not break despite losing combat. The presence of my Great Green Idol and my General's Discipline just about made that possible. I also took this photograph before reforming this unit, so apologies for that. You'll see that snap into place more properly later on. The Iron Orcs beat the Trappers and reformed, as you would expect. The Chariots finished off the last of the Tusker cavalry with its impact hits, but then got mullered by the General here, and that was to be expected, and I'm fine with that. He's more than earned his points back. And the Gargantula and the Feral Orcs here beat the remaining Tusker cavalry. Now, with the Gargantula, I decided to overrun. I could have reformed to face the Mammoth Hunter, who's obviously going to charge at me here, but if I'd have done that, then I'd have got it recharged by the General here. So I figured it's better to take one of these guys on the flank than one in the front and one in the rear, so that's why he went that way. But then the Feral Orcs here, just reforming, ready to come and claim this secondary objective later on. And that was the end of my turn 2. Okay, on to Nat's movement 3 here then. You can see he's gone for the bait with this chariot, which I'm quite happy about. So the Mammoth Hunter is in there. So that gives me something of a fighting chance. I did a few wounds to the Rock last time. There's only a couple of tigers left. I might survive this. It's unlikely, but it's now possible with the Mammoth Hunter not having gone in there, and the chariot's as good as dead anyway. Charge my Iron Orcs with his tribesmen here. This is not going to be a great fight for them, but it is better for them to charge than to be charged. And he has charged the flank of my Gargantula here with his Mammoth Hunter and prepping his general over here. And that's the end of Nat's movement 3. Okay, so end of Nat's turn 3 here then, and you can see that he's got to weaken the beast off on the tribesman in an attempt to have a good fight with the Iron Orcs, but it's not gone well for him, to be honest, and it's never going to against a big block of Iron Orcs. The tribesmen have broken and have been pursued, though not caught. Up here, the Rock and the one remaining tiger did outlast the feral orcs, and the tiger here has caught my general and shaman. So this is a big blow up at the top here, although I have got the Rock down to a single wound, so he's perhaps teed up for my Great Green Idol to finish off. Of course, the idol couldn't normally do that under normal circumstances, but a significant blow really up here anyway. And then the beast and the mammoth hunter, of course, finished off the chariot. And over here, Gargantula lost combat, but held, which was a little bit fortunate. I'm discipline 8, so I needed a 6, and I got a 6. So, yeah, a little bit lucky there. And that was the end of Nat's turn 3. Okay, on to my movement 3 then. There have been 2 charges, the Great Green Idol going in against the Rock, who is down to 1 wound, and the Iron Orcs charging the tribesmen. The tribesmen, of course, were fleeing and so have been caught, and I've reformed there. And then the Great Green Idol is just in combat there. I've brought the raiders out of the ruins here, trying to hunt this tiger but not get too close to the beast. So I'm trying to kind of go around or wait to see what happens over here, and try and get to this tiger without exposing them to the beast, but we'll see how that goes. And then swinging around here to pick up the secondary objective later on with the feral orcs. So that's the end of my movement 3. Okay, so end of my turn 3 here then. I've got a trial by faith off with my witch doctor over here, who has done 2 wounds to the ogre general. I've also got a Wrath of God off down here, but miscast in the process and taken 2 wounds myself, which was frustrating. But the Great Green Idol has finished off the 1 wound Rock, and the Mammoth Hunter has been dispatched, I should say, by the Gargantula. And that's the end of my turn 3. Okay, now this is the photograph from the end of Nat's turn 4. I did forget the movement photograph, but there wasn't a lot of movement going on really. The Tusker general made a dash into the Gargantula over here, and then other than that, it was just some moving around with the beast and the hunter over here, and the saber-toothed tiger kind of running away and hiding in the corner. So that was that, and then the Wrath of God actually came down, ironically, wounded some of my orcs. But the big news from Nat's turn 4 was that the Gargantula made fairly swift work of the general. Took a few wounds himself in the process, but the general is dead and buried now. So that was the end of Nat's turn 4. Okay, so my movement 4 here then, and now it's just a matter of seeing if I can finish off this hunter and this saber-toothed tiger, going the long way around with the raiders, trying to give this guy a wide berth. I'm hoping to use some throwing weapons, maybe turn 5 or certainly 6 against the tiger. Iron Orcs coming towards the mammoth hunter here, and the shaman turning around to face him now. We can try and spell him off as well. Great Green Idol just moving away from him because the idol's not really going to be able to do much to him, but he could hurt the idol, so that's why he's heading that way. And then everything over here is just sort of hanging around in the corner. They've finished and done their job for the day. So that's the end of my movement 4. And not a lot to report in my turn 4. Basically, I inflicted 3 wounds on the hunter here with a trial by faith from our witch doctor, and that was it. That is the end of my turn 4. Okay, so this is the photograph from the end of Nat's turn 5. We didn't take a movement photograph. It wasn't worth it. Just the hunter kind of heading up this way, trying to shoot at the the raiders, but missing a shot, and then the beast kind of lingering out over here, and that was the entirety of Nat's turn 5. And then on to my movement 5 here, so just continuing to try and chase down this guy with the Iron Orcs. Chances are I'm not going to reach him though, because I've only got 1 turn left after this to close that massive gap there. But the raiders are going after the tiger nonetheless, although the distance here is too far for shooting, so there won't be any shooting in my turn 5. And in my turn 5 here, literally nothing happened. No spell, no shooting, no nothing. My wizard master, of course, here is down to 1 wound, so I can't risk any big spells. So Nat actually ended up having more dispel dice than I was willing to use power dice. So that was the end of my 5. And this is a photograph from the end of Nat's turn 6. We again didn't bother with a movement photograph. It's basically a last-ditch attempt to try and take out the raiders with this mammoth hunter whilst keeping the tiger out of their range. So that was the end of Nat's turn 6. And then on to my movement 6, and the Iron Orcs failed a charge against the mammoth hunter here, and the raiders are coming to finish off this saber-toothed tiger. So that's the end of my movement 6. Okay, end of my turn 6 here then. So Hand of Heaven from the Witch Doctor finished off the hunter, and the raiders did a wound on the tiger but didn't finish him off. And that was the end of the game. I should also mention in Nat 6, I forgot to mention this earlier, the Totemic Beast made a run at the Iron Orcs and of course was dispatched. As you know, I like to reflect on games afterwards. What did I do well? What did I do not so well? Was I lucky? Was I unlucky? I think I was fairly lucky in this game. I mean, my Gargantula passed a discipline test on a 6. That's unlikely. The Feral Orcs passed a discipline test on a 7. There's a slightly better than evens chance that will happen, but it could have easily gone the other way, and those two things between them could have entirely changed the story down this right flank here. And I did have a great performance from my chariot, beating a unit of Tusker cavalry. Although, of course, I did have a very poor round of combat with my chariot on the other flank down here. So I suppose, you could say, well, yeah, on one side it went well and on the other not. But I think overall what I would say is that, the list has held up quite well, despite some fairly mediocre play from me. I mean, I played my raiders very badly, should have had them fleeing towards the idol. And I've still got the result that I've got in spite of some very mediocre play, which suggests to me a good, strong list. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome, really, given that. So anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. And yeah, I will see you next time.